Are you a business looking for a fresh new way to reach potential customers? Well, you need to get airtime on IT TV, a 24/7 streaming and on-demand TV service online and on Roku. With Roku having a potential reach of 62 million people, it's a perfect opportunity to reach potential customers through affordable commercial and infomercial spots. Visit us online today at itnetwork.tv.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. And thank you for joining me on Monday's episode of the Roundtable Talk Show. I am excited. I am your host, Sharifa Hardy. But before we get into the show, please go ahead and share this show because we're going to meet some interesting people. We're going to learn. We're going to talk about business in a roundtable, organic conversation. And like I always say, friends don't let friends miss out on the Roundtable Talk Show. So go ahead and share the show. And while you are doing your job, I'll do my job and introduce our very first guest. Our first guest is Mr. Robert Foster. Robert Foster has been on the show plenty of times. He's an old friend, but you know what? He's an amazing guy. Robert Foster has over 20 years of experience pouring his knowledge and expertise at many events in the service and fitness industries, as well as secondary schools and universities. Good morning, Robert. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing well. I love it when you say nice things about me.
That's rare.
That's why I love it so much.
Tell us about yourself, Robert. Who are you and what do you do?
Who am I? I am a man of unbreakable resilience. And why is that? Is because life has tried to break me on multiple occasions. And I think it's realizing that I just can't do it. So what I do now is I help other people develop that unbreakable resilience in multiple ways. So I'm a gym owner, hence the tank top. I'm not just trying to show off. And I help people create stories. So people go through things in life, and so many times things are just suppressed, and people don't know how to express what happened, whether it be divorce, whether it be the loss of a loved one, whether it be losing a job or transitioning careers. And there's teachable moments within every single one of those. So I help people take those experiences that they went through and turn them into powerful stories that can be shared as blogs. They can be shared on TV shows, on shows like this one, podcasts, and more so to help them heal from the situation. And I'm also a host of my own show, Shut Up and Grind with me. And that show is all about overcoming obstacles. So very, very similar to the way I work with my clients one-on-one. That show is guests come on and we dissect their backstories and again, find teachable moments in their struggles that led to their success.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Robert. Definitely appreciate you being a guest on today's episode of the Roundtable Talk Show. Our next guest is Dr. Danny Brazel, a highly sought-after speaker, trainer, and coach known as Jim Carrey with a PhD. Dr. Danny has spoken to over 3,500 audiences worldwide and authored 16 books, including his latest, Leadership Begins with Motivation. He is the co-founder of thereadinghabit.com. Welcome, Dr. Danny. How are you?
Thanks for having me again, Sharif. I really appreciate it. And thanks for the opportunity to be with all these cool people. I'm really excited to get to know everybody.
I'm excited to see you again. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? What do you do? And what are you passionate about?
Wow, that's a whole lot, Sharifa. Well, I'm considered America's leading reading ambassador. I've spent the last 30 years, I've spent the majority of my career teaching in South Central Los Angeles, and I help schools retain their teachers and principals because we're losing too many great educators. And really my passion is showing parents and educators how to get their kids to love reading. You know, I think schools do an adequate job of teaching kids how to read. But the question I always ask people is, what good is it teaching kids how to read if they never want to read? I teach kids why to read because I've never had to tell a kid, go watch TV. I've never had to tell a kid, go play a video game. And I never want to have to tell a kid, go read a book. I want them to choose to do it on their own. And so that's why I love surrounding kids with positivity like the panel today. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure to learn more about you. I want to go ahead and introduce our very next guest. This lovely young lady is amazing, Miss Angela Gentile. Angela is
Hi.
of the Sweat Remix wellness brand, motivates you to start and sustain physical exercise, guides you towards greater self-awareness, and provides keeping it real life coaching. Good morning, Angela. How are you?
I'm well. Good morning. I'm so happy to be here and be with like all of these amazing people. I think there's some parallels with what we do too. So that's incredible. Yeah, so good morning.
Good morning. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? What do you do?
Yeah.
And what are you passionate about?
Yeah, the existential question, right? Who am I? I am a mover and a shaker, a disruptor, a risk taker, and someone who just really believes in living your life as fully as possible to really experience everything that it means to be human. And because of the way that I live my life, I encourage and inspire other people to do the same. So I founded Sweat Remix, which is a wellness brand to help people change their mind, change their body, change their life. And we use a Sweat Remix Zen Rage Heal process to move intentionally, because when we move intentionally, we make sustainable change. And that's really what I'm about. And I am so happy to kind of share a little bit more with what we're doing. I work with schools, companies as part of their wellness incentives. And I work with some pretty incredible people. So I'm excited to share more.
We are excited to learn more. Definitely. I want to go ahead and introduce our next guest, the lovely Miss Tu-Hien. Tu-Hien is the founder and CEO of BeauGen. She'll pronounce that for me. A mommy lifestyle brand whose mission is to make mommying feel good. Inspired to address the pain and struggle of breastfeeding after having her daughter, her company launched in 2016 and has since helped over 30,000 women find success with their breastfeeding journey. Good morning, Tu-Hien. How are
Good
you?
morning. I'm great. Thank you for having me on the show.
Thank you for being here. Tell us about yourself. Who are you? What do you do? And what are you passionate about?
Yeah, so I'm the founder and CEO of my company, BeauGen. Our mission is to make mommying feel good. I started the company in 2016 when I struggled with my own journey of breastfeeding, invented a product to help women pumping, and we launched our product in 2016 called the Breast Pump Cushion. And since then, we've been able to help women all over the world, over 30,000 women. And I really am passionate about making an impact in women's lives.
Wow, I love it. We're going to talk about, I can already see where the conversation is going today. We're going to have an interesting conversation. We're going to talk about babies and love and everything else, because our next guest is going to help us define love. Hopefully we'll see Mr. John Kinney. John is the relationship guy. Having lived a life of difficult relationships, he now uses his own experiences and training as coach, counselor, and NLP practitioner to help others create healthy, intimate relationships. Good morning, John. How are you?
Good morning. I'm very well. Thank you. Thank you for having me on the show as a first-time guest. And good afternoon if you're anywhere else in the world that's not in the US.
Good afternoon to you. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? What do you do? And what are you passionate about?
Yes, as you said, I'm the relationship guy and I'm a relationship coach, and I help people that want to create healthy, intimate relationships. So as you mentioned, I've had a lifetime of difficult relationships based on my experiences in childhood, and being able to kind of turn my own life around has inspired me to work with other people to help them to create the healthiest relationships they can that are possible. Your relationship quality is the key to your quality of life. So I help people to create that quality in their relationships so they can live the happiest and most fulfilled lives possible.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, I have a question. So we're going to start this out because I think first you get the relationship and then you get the baby. So this is kind of the order. And then you make your choices. So is there any blatant, just general advice for someone like myself? And I'm not going to throw Angela under the bus, but someone like myself.
It's cool. It's cool. Go ahead.
Who might want a relationship. I've been divorced twice. What are some things that we need to know, John?
Yeah. So first of all, I would say, how is the relationship with yourself? Your relationship with yourself is the most important relationship you're ever going to have, because it will dictate everything you do and all the relationships that you attract towards you. So most people don't have a tendency to look at themselves and understand what kind of relationship they have that's going on, and don't really know why they attract the kind of things that they do towards themselves in their lives, and especially the relationships that they end up in. So to be able to understand that, I mean, when I look at with my clients, it's about looking at those things from the past that sort of drive your relational patterns, your relationship beliefs, what your attachment style might be. There are so many facets that might dictate to you what you're doing subconsciously without actually realizing what you're doing and what you're doing it for. And also kind of what your want is from somebody. We have a tendency just to get into relationships and have a rough idea about what we're looking for in somebody, but to really hone that down and understand what it is you really want in someone moving forward, and how much of yourself you're prepared to give to a relationship too.
I love that. Because I'm going to jump in, because I was a little thrown under the bus. So I'm just going to.
Just a little bit.
No, I agree with that, because I think we don't really spend enough time getting to know ourselves. And I choose to be in this place. I choose not to engage in a relationship because I'm hyper-focused on what it is that I'm creating. And I think when we look at why we choose to be by ourselves, sometimes that could be a relationship pattern or a trauma pattern in general, but sometimes it could just be us building a relationship with the self that we are not competing with other suitors or people, but it's almost like, are you going to contribute to the relationship that I've built and the peace that I've created? Are you on the same path of growth or trajectory that I'm going on? Or is this going to be something that distracts me and I find myself repeating the same cycle of toxic patterns over and over again? And I think one of the things that was said was to move with clarity and intention. And I don't know. I mean, I think that that's really important to do for relationships and just with your life, like getting up every day and say, what do I want? What do I need? How am I going to do it? And then sort of aligning all of your actions, your beliefs, your thoughts, your being to that intention, whether it's the day, the week, the month, your life, whatever. The same thing can be applied to relationships too.
See, my thing is, I think within a relationship, you tend to lose, well, I'll say me. I don't want to speak for other people. I'm just talking about me. I tend to lose my authenticity, because full transparency, your boy's a handful, right? I'm definitely a handful.
No.
It's like, I'm very opinionated. I'm very blunt. I am hyper competitive. I don't play for fun. And I speak what's on my mind. And so in a relationship, like, I've been a leader since I was, God, if you count being captain of sports teams, since I was very, very young, but I became a manager at the age of 15. So I'm 47 now. So I've been putting out fires and leading people my entire life. And that's kind of who I am. And so in a relationship, I find when my partner wants to talk to me, and I'm like, I'm a fixer. And
What's the difference with men and women? Sometimes we just want you to listen and not fix our problems.
I suck at that, though. I've done that my entire life. And so I find now, in being alone, I'm free to be who I am. Because in a relationship, I lose who I am because I'm hyper competitive. I can't dial it down. It's just a part of my soul. And so when I'm trying to do things just for fun, I can't do it. Just like I said, full transparency. I just lose my authentic self.
Yeah.
But with the right person, you wouldn't need to dial it down. And that's the thing that
I'm waiting for that.
Yeah, with the thing that we don't ever think about is about who are we, and I think that's what we were saying just now. Is if you've already got that idea in your head that being in a relationship means that you lose that side of yourself, then every time you probably go into a relationship, without realizing it subconsciously, you're already creating that pattern to exist.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's so easy to blame the other person. It's like, oh, well, she does this wrong, she does that wrong, she does this wrong. But then when I actually step back and it's like, where am I going wrong? I was like, because I'm obviously, because it takes two people to break up. So it's like, I'm obviously doing something wrong here. And that's when it just hit me. It's like, maybe you're just too much.
No, I hate that. I hate that. Too much.
No, not in a cocky way. Not in a cocky way.
No.
Just saying, like, I'm just very stubborn and I'm very set in my ways.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's fair. But I think even labeling that as too much can also be like setting yourself up. It's like, no, this is just like my baseline requirement. Can you meet me where I am? Do you vibe on my frequency up here? Because if you accept that person, I mean, there are flags, right? The red flags just pop up all the time. And we tend to just be like, no, that's me just being sensitive. No, I think that's there for a reason. And if we don't listen and build that relationship with ourselves to trust when the instinct is going off, then we'll end up compromising and settling for things that are below us. And it becomes more exhausting. That's when we lose ourselves, is when we have to just like constantly go down to meet somebody where they are. And I think relationships are always like this, but if it's you just constantly like dragging people up, like I do that for work. Like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that in my personal life either, you know?
Agreed. 100%.
John, I'm wondering if the whole finding a relationship with yourself, if you've seen that translate into business as well, because I've been going on my own personal journey and trying to understand myself and why I make decisions and do the things I do or fear what I fear in business. And it's really all about myself and reflecting within, and usually like inner child, deeper story stuff. And it's like, wow, I didn't realize it shows up in business or shows up in my relationship like that.
Yeah, we all carry we all carry beliefs, we all carry behavioral patterns from our past. And mostly 99% of that is the stuff that we're unaware of. So yeah, we're going to carry it into every aspect of our lives if it's not something that we've resolved within ourselves. But that awareness is the key to kind of understanding this, to get started on the change.
But the change is hard.
It's
so hard.
That's just a belief, so that we can change
that. Okay, fair enough.
See, and John hit the nail on the head there, that a lot of people don't understand what it is that they're going through. Because what I'm finding when I help people with their story creation, there are things within their life that they don't even realize is the thing that's holding them back. So as I talk to people and I start unpacking their subconscious mind, there's things in there that they really don't think is hurting them consciously, but subconsciously it is hurting them.
Yeah, I see that too with the people I work with. And I mean, I think everyone, it takes their own journey in their own time and in their own way. And some people have hard stops and limitations. Sometimes those limitations are forever. Sometimes it's very gradual and incremental, but it really does take a willingness to be introspective. So maybe the question is like, what is that? Is that willingness like inherent? Are there people who are just diving in, really ready to go for it as part of their personality, as part of their DNA? Like, what separates the people who are willing to make that journey, to get to know themselves, to do their work, to heal the things that hold them back, and to even be interested that there's something limiting in the first place?
I got that. I'll give you two answers, and anyone else feel free to chime in. The first one is fear of vulnerability.
True.
Because especially if something hurt you, people don't want to willingly revisit the hurt. And then the second thing is the fear of judgment. If I tell someone, what are they going to think about it? So those are the two biggest ones that come up when I'm working with people.
And those two,
for sure. But what's the thing?
How businesses are done too. How businesses grow, how the limitation on your own business, whether you're growing or not, is fear of failure, fear of judgment, all of that. So
fear of success.
Fear of success. Yep.
True.
Yeah.
Dr. Danny, you got to get aggressive, man. You got to get aggressive.
Danny's just sitting back, bombs on us, so
we don't want Sharifa chiming in. We got this.
All I know is working with kids. If I have 33 students, I have 33 different relationships to concentrate on, and probably the secret has been focusing. I hear people talk about the golden rule, and I'm much more a believer in the platinum rule. The golden rule is do unto others as you wish done unto you. And I've learned, no, that's not correct. Platinum rule is do unto others as they want done unto them. So I let them guide me as to what type of relationship they want with me.
Okay, so Dr. Danny, my question then becomes is how do you build the relationship with children in books? How do you make them want to read?
Well, I always tell people that, the research is really clear. It doesn't matter what you read. What matters is how much you read. It doesn't matter if you're reading James Joyce or James and the Giant Peach. People who read more read better. And so when I talk to parents and teachers, I say, the little boy who only wants to read Captain Underpants is going to be a better reader than the little boy who won't read anything. Captain Underpants is the gateway drug to Shakespeare, but you got to find out what the person's interested in. Same thing with adults. I talk to adults all the time that say they don't like to read. I'm like, well, you're just reading the wrong stuff. I mean, if you're interested, if Robert's interested in fitness, then that's basically my clue. I should be finding things that are oriented towards fitness. Tu-Hien is interested in working with mothers, and so I'm going to find books related to her interest. You should let the interest guide the relationship.
Yes, absolutely. Tu-Hien, what are some great books for mothers?
Oh my goodness. I generally read a lot of like self-improvement, self-development stuff. And you put me on the spot here, but from an entrepreneur point of view, I love Think and Grow Rich, even though it was written almost 100 years ago, the principles are still valid today. And at the first time I tried reading it a couple years ago, I didn't get it. It didn't really resonate with me. I was like, I don't understand why people love this book, but I just realized that I just wasn't ready to receive the information that it was trying to give me. So I picked it up again maybe a year ago, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this book is here, and not everybody's read it, and people don't apply it in their, in their businesses, in their lives. And I even just reread it again this year, and it's been golden. I can't recommend that book enough.
Anyone else read Think and Grow Rich?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, everybody should be reading that.
I think if you're an entrepreneur, you've probably picked up that book and put it down many times, because there's a lot in there that makes you check yourself of like, oh, I'm in the driver's seat of my life, and I'm in charge of manifesting my thoughts, my actions, my beliefs, my being. And that can be super vulnerable, very scary, and goes back to what even Robert was saying, like the fear of failure or the fear of even success, So I think if you've taken on business head first, you've put that book up and down many times. Read it in vignettes rather than as.
And that's a great tip, Angela. I love that Angela said, well, you can take it and put it down. I mean, I tell people, most people, they associate reading with Dostoevsky, and they have these 800-page books by their nightstands. And I always say, reading a book is like eating a piece of food. If you don't like it, put it down. There's 3 million books written every single year. And what we really want to do is to establish the habit of just reading a little bit a day. You don't have to read Think and Grow Rich in one setting. I mean, read what you like. And I mean, the average human spends 15 minutes a day on the toilet. I always tell people, why don't you have something to read next to you on the toilet and do your 15 minutes right there. So I absolutely love that Angela was talking about that.
Because they're too busy trolling TikTok.
Yeah, totally. But
Dr. Danny.
Go ahead.
Sorry. I was gonna say, when I read, I don't necessarily always read from cover to cover. Like sometimes I just want to reference a chapter in Think and Grow Rich or a couple of chapters in another book, and I just take what I need. I kind of like in my reading style as like a treasure hunt. Like I go into a book, look for what I need. If I don't find it, I don't read it. And then I only read sections of it. But that's because I read more like informational and self-development, self-improvement books versus like a novel. A novel I would read cover to cover. So it's just different reading styles. And that's something I only learned in my adulthood, maybe like a couple of years ago. That, I don't have to read it cover to cover if I don't want to.
That's a great point. I mean, especially if you're reading things like nonfiction that are informational. I just read a book where the book was 200 pages, and I really only had to read the first 2 pages because it gave me the story I was looking for. It was talking about this marketer who was down in Chile with all these Chilean fishermen looking for the next big thing, and he noticed that they were fishing for this one type of fish, and then the extra fish that they caught is the kind of fish that they actually ate. And he's like, actually, this tastes better. What's this fish called? And they're like, oh, it's called the bonefish. He's like, the bonefish? They're like, oh yeah, there's tons of bonefish, but we fish for this. And so he was a marketer, and so he changed the name. And ever since he changed the name, it's the top selling fish in the United States. He changed the name from bonefish to the Chilean sea bass. And I was like, oh, that's a great story. And so that was worth it for the book for me. The rest of the book was a waste of time, but I completely agree. Good readers, just put it down. If you're not getting anything out of it, find something else, a little bit different than a novel.
That Randian approach to, anything, garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah.
I think, and especially when we're talking about information, sometimes we're just not ready to receive information. Sometimes that information will reflect where we are in our life, and it just might not be applicable at that time. So I think being open-minded to picking things up, putting things down, taking what you need, revisiting, digesting, and deciding is really helpful when you're presented with information.
Yeah, and it's important, Angela. I mean, the big thing is I made a decision long ago is I only surround myself with positive things. And so I was reading this horrible thing the other day. It was called the news. And
Totally.
So fill yourself. But that's why I focus on positive podcasts and things like this, because you want to be around people. I mean, I'm learning about, relationships and all these things. This is what you need to be focused on. Surround yourself with positive things. I believe that iron sharpens iron.
Yeah.
Agreed.
That's your
Agreed.
energy though. Like if you're, and I think, maybe to change a topic, but I think the news is kind of designed to keep people scared, to keep people low vibrational.
Yep.
Of course.
For sure.
Click.
I can't even stand that. Like if I visit my grandmother, it's like, we got Hot Bench on, Judge Judy, and then some iteration of the news. And it's just like that energy it sucks it out of the room. There's no positivity. There's no evolution. There's no creativity. It's just fear and anger.
That's the thing about working on yourself that we've already talked about, is that we are negatively biased in our brains, aren't we? So bad news sells. That's why it's full of negative stuff, because it sparks an interest in our kind of primitive brain to get us interested in what's going on. We need. There seems to be a thing about living in fear, that we need to kind of have that as part of our lives, and that's where I think the kind of people that are kind of talking today and stuff, we've done that kind of exploration and say, actually, why do I want to be surrounded by this negativity? Why am I not thinking more positive, or why am I not moving myself forward? And then you need to be able to look in that other direction rather than kind of doing what we've always done.
See, the thing is because that's how we're programmed. It's by design. Like if there weren't houses, and we can go back to the beginning of time, you're programmed to look for danger. Think about the squirrel. The squirrel is the most stressed out animal in the animal kingdom. It's like they're eating an acorn and they're looking around. They're eating and they're looking around. It's like that's because they are wired to look for danger, and we're no different. And the TV executives know that. So as long as they keep it, as Angela was saying, they want to keep us scared. So because as long as we're living in fear, they have some level of control over us.
Absolutely.
So that's why that stuff happens.
Absolutely.
A big audience.
Wow, interesting points. We have so much interesting conversations going on today. I am enjoying it, but we do have to stop for a brief commercial break.
You need jordansrooter.com. Get free estimates, 24-hour service, special discounts for seniors and veterans. That's jordansrooter.com. Have a home repair or some remodeling you need done? No problem. We can handle all that too. Give us a call today at 800-300-0358. At Jordan's Rooter, we take pride in our work and always make sure to get the job done right the first time. That's jordansrooter.com. We want to be your Mr. Fix-It.
I've had this problem.
Big problem.
I really needed
A good business consultant.
And I kept searching and searching.
There are so many choices.
It's really hard to find one that has all the things on my list. But I finally did it.
Yes. Thank you.
If you are looking for one as well, look no further.
Here's a really good one.
Just use mine.
Use mine.
I'm very satisfied.
Definitely recommend. Problem gone.
Thank you.
If you are just now tuning in to the Roundtable Talk Show, you have missed so much. You want to tune in to the first half hour because the conversation has gone from relationships to books to so much. So watch it from the beginning. Now I want to move on to my next topic, which I would love to discuss, is Entrepreneurship. That's my favorite word. My favorite word. One of the things that we mentioned is entrepreneurs often have a fear of success and a fear of failure. Angela, how did you get over your fear of failure or your fear of success?
Ooh, I mean, it's still there. I don't want to be like, oh, I'm cured. I think it just it shifts. I think as I grow and evolve, so do my fears and vulnerabilities. I think when you compare taking risks to what you've survived, taking a risk in business is easy comparable to like the loss and the pain and trauma that I've endured in my life. And I think one of the catalysts that helped me take bigger risk, that really just allowed me to break open, was when my father passed away, which will be 6. Yeah, thank you. It's stupid. It's just like the stupidest, suckiest thing. It'll be 6 years ago, and it feels like yesterday and a million years all at once. And I was very young. You know, I was in my early 30s when that happened, and he just died suddenly. So like this concept just like rocked me, pulled me off of my center, and like tossed me around in the storm. And like coming out of that, I was like, I survived this. I survive it every day, missing half of my DNA, my dad, my protector, you know? So I think when you can survive a major loss and all the other subsequent losses, and you're aware of what they have to teach you, and knowing that they're not there to wreck you, they're there to grow you, I think you can start shifting your perspective on failure and vulnerability and taking bigger risks, because it's never really anything that's going to be disastrous. Like, you're going to be okay. It'll be sucky. It'll be uncomfortable. It might not work out the way that you plan. It may create more work, but at the end of the day, it's just there to better align you, for you to ask better questions about what is this here for? Where am I supposed to shift? How am I going to grow? So I think that's how I approach any kind of failure, any kind of loss, any kind of risk taking.
I'd love to hear from anyone else.
Well, if I can, I don't want to talk about the entrepreneurship yet. I just want to address what Angela just said, because I think it goes to show how like loss happens differently for different people. Because I lost my father in 2019. And it was actually a good thing, because if he survived, he would have been alone somewhere. So he actually had a good ending. But he got sick in January of 2019, and he passed in November. So we knew it was coming. So whenever I speak about it, people are always so shocked that I can speak about him without breaking down and stuff. I said, but we knew it was coming. You know, he had stage 4 heart failure. So mentally, I was able to put myself in a place where, I mean, is sadness there? Of course. Do I miss him? Of course. But it gave me the time to have an attitude of gratitude about it, because I had him for 45 years. You know, like, there are people that don't know their father at all. And I was explaining to someone that if someone's father suddenly passes, or parent suddenly passes, that's a completely different level of grief. Completely different level. So I just wanted to touch on that. As you said, you were blindsided to the point to where it knocked you off of your path. You know, whereas with mine, I had 9 months to prepare. Well, 11 months to prepare for it. So grief is not always equal.
No. Can I comment on that too? I think when, you know, when someone passes, I think from a sudden passing, you really are blindsided. But when someone gets diagnosed or they're sick, and it is a very lengthy, sort of drawn out process, you're grieving from the minute that you find out that person has the potential and whatever their end of life, you know, diagnosis could be. So even though they're still living, like, that's still a grief process, is knowing that they're sick, is knowing that this is terminal. So you had like 9 months of grief while that person was still alive, you know?
Yes. Yep. Spot on.
Yeah, I think what I admired about Robert's response is all of us go through these different stages, but it was his attitude. Especially in an entrepreneurial journey, you know, some people look at all the bad things happening at them and think, oh, my life, woe is me. And then other people look at it as, wow, there's incredible opportunities that's presented. I mean, I love that he said, you know, he decided to focus on the positive. You know, my father's passed, but thank goodness I had those 45 years with him. I mean, The leadership expert, John Maxwell, he says, sometimes you win and sometimes you learn, not lose. And so I think your attitude really guides you in your entrepreneurial journey.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
I also wanted to reflect back on both Angela and Robert, that how aware and mature and just the level of self-awareness you guys have to think, okay, this situation sucks and it's not ideal, but like, what is life trying to teach me through this journey, and not just, push me down, right? I think that's just incredible that both of you like have that level of self-awareness to learn from it, and the attitude of gratitude is great. Like, I think it's wonderful. So
thank you. I appreciate that. And I also, let's be fully transparent, since we're kind of like getting into this like little grief segment, because I think loss can sometimes open us up to take chances. I think it was a testament to my dad. I was my dad's only child, and for his passing to just be for nothing, I wasn't going to let that happen. Yes. For me, I was like, this was the greatest gift that my father ever gave me. I mean, look, like what I wish that this could have been like a Hallmark card or like a conversation or something. Absolutely. But I don't know if I was in a place to listen. I needed something to rock me. So the greatest gift that his passing gave to me was to teach me how to live, because I was not doing it. I was so out of alignment. I was angry. I was upset. I was stuck. And the world was giving me little like, hey, girl, you might want to shift. And I wasn't listening. I was like, no, this is everybody else's fault. And then the world was like, all right, we're going to give you the thing that's going to make you change your life and change your course. So we have no choice but to listen now. So I use that as an opportunity for me to honor my dad, to shift and change course, because if he can't be here, like, I sure as hell am going to live my life as a way to honor what he is not able to do.
Absolutely. And as Dr. Danny said, that translates into business, because I was a restaurant manager for 20 years, and I started fitness as an outlet for me, just because I kept bringing the stress of the restaurant back in, and going back to what I was saying about losing my authentic self. Like, I'm an athlete and I was constantly doing stuff. And then, I don't want to go off in a different, my ex-wife abandoned me and our toddler son. And so that rocked me to my core, and I ended up losing myself. I ended up gaining weight. I stopped doing my sports, and I found myself again. But then as I got older, and then once my middle child was born, like, I just started missing things, and that was bringing the stress of everything home. I was snapping at my ex. I was snapping at the kids. Like, little things that normally wouldn't trigger me were triggering me. And back to the losing yourself part, is I'm a happy-go-lucky kind of guy. I'm a jokester. I'm a ball buster. But I'm a positive person that loves life. So anyway, I started fitness, and it wasn't supposed to grow. I was just supposed to go out into the garage, throw some weights around to release the stress and come back in. And then as it started to grow, I was matching my management income, but working way less hours. You're talking 12 hours per week versus 240. But I didn't have the guts to pursue it. And then for the first time, I lost my job. Like, the universe was like, bro, you got everything you need. I just cleared the path. Now go. And here we are.
Yeah, I think that's what everybody's saying. We touched on it earlier on about what is the point in your life where you decide to let go and move forward, or what's the point in your life when it changes, which makes you take life by the throat and say that actually this is my life and I'm going to do what I want with it. I mean, we're talking about the Think and Grow Rich early on, and then it's the same with mine. I realized that when I started to change my life, that I couldn't affect other people's lives without actually becoming an entrepreneur. I never thought about being. I've always worked for somebody, even up until 5 years ago, and it was only when I thought, actually, I can't do what I want to do with my life if I keep following what I've been doing for the rest of my life. What I've been doing all the way in my life so far. But it took a massive shift within me and some events within my life for me to go, actually, this is this now needs to change, because if I don't change where I am right now, then I'm never going to be the person I want to be. I'm never going to live the life that I want. I'm never going to be able to help the people that I want. And if those things hadn't happened, then I wouldn't be able to sort of change what I was doing. And it wasn't anything as significant as kind of losing a loved one, but it was time. I mean, I ruptured my knee, so it means I couldn't kind of move for several weeks. And it was just sitting around and thinking, okay, what do I really want from my life? And it gave me that time to sit and reflect. And I thought, actually, where's my life going at the moment? And what kind of space am I in at the moment? I realized how I just wasn't on the right path. But it took something that kind of, laid me up for a few months for me to be able to take that time out and just reflect and say, where do I want to go?
Well, that's why your work is so important, John. I mean, and all of us are basically emphasizing that same thing. The most important relationship you'll ever have is the one you have with yourself. I mean, one of my mentors, Jim Rohn, he said, you need to stop spending so much time on your job and spend a lot more time on yourself. I mean, look at the work that Tu-Hien does with mothers. I mean, there's so many. I mean, my wife had preeclampsia, and I mean, there's so many women that they have their baby and then they're feeling guilty that maybe this isn't the greatest thing in my life, and how you're supposed to function as a mother. And all of us go through those things, and it's we have to really arm ourselves by working on ourselves. And and again, it goes back to this entire format that Sharif is promoting, is how do you surround yourself with positive influences and work on you.
Thank you for that, Danny. What I think is interesting is, I'm getting back in the flow of things and how I want to do the Roundtable Talk Show. And what occurred to me after the break was, let's talk about entrepreneurship. But we went in a completely different direction, even speaking about fathers. For me, when I think of entrepreneurship, I think about my father. My father's had his own plumbing business in California since 1985. But he always talked to me about the mentality of a business owner. I've been laid off 8 times. And this last time I was really struggling to decide which way I wanted to go. And it was my father who said to me, you have to start thinking of yourself as self-employed as opposed to unemployed. And when I made that shift, my business changed, because I wasn't in that space where I was looking for jobs, the majority of the time, and then doing a little bit on my business. And this is the most successful I've ever been. So it's amazing how life and people, because I don't know what I would do without my dad. So blessings to all of you who have that experience.
Yeah, my dad's the opposite. My dad keeps asking me when I'm going to get a job.
Well, Angela, I did want to get, because I lost my mother to COVID last month, and I actually said, I'm like, death is the greatest gift that God gave us. Absolutely. Because it makes us really appreciate life so much more. And there's a great quote by Dr. Seuss, no doubt. He said, "Don't cry because it's over. Smile because it happened."
Because it happened.
Yes.
Yeah. For sure. Nice. And I think kind of what I'm picking up here, like entrepreneurship isn't really about like running a business. I mean,
life.
It's a byproduct, like working for yourself, having freedom, being creative, expressing, living your purpose is just a byproduct of like self-discovery and exploration. And I think we all decided to do what we're doing as entrepreneurs as a way to express what we've learned, to express the direction we're going. And I think grief oftentimes can be the catalyst for that. And it doesn't necessarily need to be the loss of a human being. Grief can be anytime your expectations and your reality don't sync up. So there's a level of movement, there's a level of like shifting that has to happen for you to figure out, what was this here for, Yeah.
And John, so similarly, I had a bad knee injury as well. My patella tendon ruptured in 2009 to the point where my kneecap was like this far up my quad. And I get to the emergency room, and the ER doctor, he takes off the brace, and within half a second, he's like, "Ooh, you're never going to run or jump again." And now, mind you, my twin boys were 4 months old at the time. So I'm like, here I am. I have 5 small kids. And I just start thinking all the negatives. I'm like, I'm never going to be able to run with them. Like, I just like, this was 5 months after I lost my management job. So I already decided I wasn't going to do that. I was going to pursue fitness. And like, now you're telling me I'm not going to be able to run with my clients. And as an athlete, I play basketball, volleyball, I run track and field, like everything that requires running and jumping. But then I stepped back for a second and I looked at him. I'm not going to cuss, but you'll know what I was going to say. I looked at that doctor and I said, with all due respect.
Did you say with all due respect?
I did actually.
Okay,
I did.
Right.
I said, with all due respect, I said, you don't effing know me like that. I said, you are not qualified to tell me what I'm going to come back from. I'm like, you're not. I'm like, I'm sorry. I said, I've seen cancer patients get told they got 6 months to live, and 10 years later they're still here. It's not about the setback. It's about the comeback. And that's when Shut Up and Grind was born.
Yeah, I have a question. So maybe there's something here, right? Because I'm sure there's something. Because when we get told no, I'm like, okay, cool, watch me, right? Like there's a little bit of that. Does everybody, in your opinion, does everyone have an entrepreneurial spirit that maybe is just untapped, or is what this is and what we pursue specific to a certain type of person?
I personally think it depends on the upbringing, because a lot of what I find when I'm doing my show, which is why I focus on people's backstories. Like I want to know how you got here, and a lot of times people will have it, but other people stuff them in a box, and then they spend that period in their life trying to escape the box, and then once they break free, they're like, you know what, I need to go and be me. So,
but some people might like the box.
Yeah, I think it's a personality thing.
In the box, aren't they? Some people
I know.
don't know how to be out of the box.
Yeah.
Well, remember, I started it saying there are people that have big dreams and then they get stuffed in the box. It's that person. So there are some people that are just not cut out for it. That's absolutely true. But there are people that have it, but usually it's other people that talk them out of it, whether it's their parents or teachers or something along those lines.
Yeah, that's a funny point, Robert. I always tell people, because I read biographies like crazy, and I'm like, there's a common element in almost every biography of successful people. Most of them dropped out of school. And I'm like, what are we doing wrong in school to alienate these people?
I dropped out of college 3 times. Yeah. And now I mentor people with PhDs.
Yeah.
Wow, what interesting conversation. I love it. You never know where the conversation is going to go on the Roundtable Talk Show, but I guarantee it's going to be fun. Now, we are coming down to the last few minutes of the show, and what I love to do at the end of every show is just simply allow my guests the opportunity to speak directly to the audience, to everyone who is watching this show live, as well as everyone who is watching it in the archives, and let them know what you want them to take away from your appearance here today. And we have some amazing giveaways. We're going to start with you, Dr. Danny.
Oh, wow. Well, first of all, thanks to everybody on the panel. That was really cool. I actually kind of want to create a mastermind of all of us. I was learning a lot.
Yes. Cosign. Yes.
As a thank you for bearing with me, I wanted to give you a couple of goodies. If you go to freereadingtraining.com, I'll give all of you a complimentary copy of my book, Read, Lead, and Succeed, which is a book I wrote for a principal who was trying to keep his faculty positively engaged. So I said, okay, I'll write you a book. So every week I give you a topic, an inspirational quote, an inspirational story, a book recommendation on a book you should read, but you're probably too lazy because you're an adult. So I also give you a children's picture book recommendation that demonstrates the same concept. You can read that in 5 minutes. But I'll leave the way I always leave my students, whether it's my little ones or my older ones, as they exit my classroom. I always remind them, remember, kids, education is valuable, but execution is priceless. Knowledge is not power. Only applied knowledge is power. Knowing what the right thing to do and doing the right thing are two very different things. So go out and do the right thing and make this world a much better place.
Oh, what a wonderful takeaway. Thank you, Dr. Danny. Robert, what do you have for the people?
I have stuff for the people. All right. So if it's one thing that 2020 told me, so when the gym got shut down, I joined multiple mastermind groups. I expanded my podcast. But as I'm in these mastermind groups, I realized there's a lot of people that really, really suck at introducing themselves. They're really, really bad at it. And I don't say that to be mean. It's just a fact. And it was to the point where I started private messaging people saying, hey, do you want me to help you out with your intro? And then as I look at some people's websites, you go to their about section and it's a snooze fest. You know, like they don't really capture the essence of who they are. And it's because they don't know how to tell their personal stories. So I created a program called Speak About Yourself Out Loud. And it's where I help people go through their own backstories. Like I don't teach them anything new. I get on the phone, we speak, and we dissect your backstories. We find those teachable moments. And then it's something that you can either heal from yourself. It can help you repair a relationship with a loved one. It can help you grieve the loss of a loved one. It can help you start a blog, start a podcast, write a book. Like there's so many different avenues that you can do once you understand the power in your stories. Because one big thing that I hear is, oh, I don't have any stories. I'm like, are you alive? If you're alive, then you have stories. And within those stories, there's teachable moments. And the biggest thing that we can do on this earth is help other people. And you don't have to be an entrepreneur to help other people. So you can go to my website, robertbfoster.com, and schedule a free 15-minute call. It's not a sales call. We're going to take whatever thing is pressing you the most, and we're going to dissect it. And by the time that call is over, you're going to have a fully functional story that you can change your life and someone else's life as well.
What's your website again, Robert?
robertbfoster.com.
Thank you, Robert.
My pleasure.
Tu-Hien, what do you have for us? Tu-Hien, sorry.
Yeah, so this has been so much fun chatting with everybody. So for the listeners, watchers, viewers out there, if you are, or somebody you know is a new mother and maybe struggling with breastfeeding or just the transition into motherhood in general, I encourage you to check out BeauGen.com. We're building a supportive, empathetic, nurturing community of women to help us transition through this amazing time in life that is also challenging. And also we have a podcast called Express Yourself, which I'm the host of, that also talks about different new mom stories that help through this period as well. And if I could give the viewers a little takeaway, is that if you are thinking about trying something new or doing something you've never done before, and you have a little bit of fear, it's okay to actually feel the fear. Everybody feels everybody feels fear. So it's all about showing your courage and having your courage be bigger than your fear.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love it. I love that. And John, what do you have for us? What can the listeners take away from your appearance here today?
Yeah. So, I've got a few things too. If people go to my website, www.johnkennycoaching.com, if they're interested, if you're struggling to find the kind of relationship that can make you feel fulfilled and happy within your life, for many, many reasons that might be, you can always book in a call with me. It's a half-hour call, and we'll just kind of understand where you are in your life right now, the issues you might be having, finding the right type of relationship. And even if you decide you don't want to have any kind of coaching around that, we can give you some takeaways to take away for you to work on. One of the biggest changes in my life was writing my book. When I spent 6 months kind of analyzing myself, I wrote a book called The People Program, and it's how to overcome your blocks to success. And that really kind of changed my life, because those 6 months of just looking at me and understanding where I came from, why I was making the choices that I was making, really helped me to kind of turn my life around. So if people want to drop me an email, you can contact me via the website or at info@johnkennycoaching.com. I will email you a PDF copy of the book.
Thank you, John. Thank you. Angela, Miss Angela, what do you have for the people?
Yeah, for the people, lots of things. So for the takeaway today, I really want to talk to the person who is kind of in the in-between, right? Like we have a goal, we know what we want, we know where we are, but what happens in between? And my fitness brand, Sweat Remix, is there to be the process to help you move spiritually, emotionally, physically, all of it. So when we start moving intentionally, we make sustainable change. So if you visit sweatremix.com/free guide, I have an entire series of templates to help you move intentionally daily, weekly, and monthly. And then I'm also going to be starting in the next few weeks, taking enrollment for my movement and mental health mastermind group, which is all about incorporating meditation, physical fitness, and coaching in a group setting to really make sustainable change. So when you start thinking about the thing that you want that you haven't been able to achieve, I got you. Come chat. All right, and we'll do it.
And your website again?
Sweatremix.com.
Thank you. I have enjoyed today's show. It has been an incredible show. We never know where the conversation is going to go, but it was a lot of fun. So I want to thank all of our guests for being here today, but I especially want to thank everyone who tuned in to watch the show live, as well as everyone who was watching it in the archives. Just because you didn't catch the live show doesn't mean you're not important, and it doesn't mean we still don't need your support, because we do. Please go ahead and share the show. Visit our guests, visit their websites, follow them on social media. And when you do, reach out to them. And when you do, please let them know Sharifa Hardy says hi. Now, if you're interested in being a guest or more ways that I can help your business, please visit my website at asksharifa.com. Until tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Pacific, everyone have a safe and a blessed day. Bye now.